All right, I think we are now live. Good morning. It is Bernard Nomberg, another weekly episode of Nomberg Law Live. I've got my friend Charles Bloom on the other line. Good morning, Charles. How are you, sir?
Doing great, Bernard. Hope you're doing well.
I am doing well. I know you're over in South Carolina at the university, and I appreciate you giving me a few minutes of your time today. How's your weather? Is it as cold and nasty as we've been getting here in Birmingham?
It's not nasty, but it's cold. It's very cold and very fortunate that the wind is not blowing. So it was a brisk 29 degrees when I woke up this morning.
That's it. If the sun is out, even if it's cold, I don't have a problem. But when that wind cuts, oh man, maybe it's just because me getting older, but I just don't like it anymore. But we could talk about the weather, but nobody wants to hear that from me. So let's move on to University of South Carolina. Charles, I know you are a jack of all trades. You've got so many responsibilities in the athletics department. I would not dare to try to name them all, but if you would, just for the people out there watching and may not know you, tell us what you do at the university.
Sure. Well, I have three titles: Chief of Staff to the Athletic Department. I am the Chief Communications Officer and Executive Associate Athletics Director. I have I'm a sport administrator for softball, as well as oversee our ticket office, our media relations office, our video departments, which are new and creative video, our feature video department, and also our live video productions area, which if your audience is familiar with SEC Network Plus, that is a network that reports right to me. So those keep me busy, and I do whatever that last thing on the job description, which is all duties as assigned, is something that I try to help Coach Tanner with, our athletic director, as much as I can.
Well, and how many sports programs at the university do you guys currently support?
We have 21, and we compete in every SEC championship sport, with the exception of gymnastics and men's cross country. We also have beach volleyball, and we have men's soccer, which the SEC does not compete in.
They really should, but Charles, in the SEC, we affectionately refer to the University of South Carolina as USC. Well, I've got, as a couple of people watching right now, I've got a buddy of mine on the West Coast who is a USC Southern Cal guy, Mitch Jackson. Good morning, Mitch. I appreciate you checking in for a few minutes. I've got Carla on the line. I've got David Haskin. I've got a few people watching us. So if you guys have any questions for Charles, and we're about to dive right into a bunch of different things with the school, please just put them in the comment section. I'll be glad to field the questions for Charles, and hopefully there won't be too many about Clemson or Georgia in there. But Charles, tell us what's a day-to-day like for you? You're kind of behind the scenes. You're in one of, if not the most powerful NCAA conference, one of the big Power Fives. South Carolina has won its fair share of national championships in various sports. And I want to kind of peel back the covers, if you will, a little bit. Tell us what it's like doing your job. Share with us some of that insight, some of the energy, some of the things that make it fun for you.
Well, Bernard, the job has definitely changed. I still see myself as a communications person. I tried to get more into administration, and that was one of the reasons why I came here, was the opportunity to get more into the administration side of it. But I am a communicator. I tried to deliver the message or oversee the tone and the tenor of the message that we put out there. So that means you follow what's being written and said about you in the social media world, the blogosphere, in the mainstream. You try to anticipate what's going on. You see what's out there and any of the issues. You track them, whether it's a local, regional, or national issue. You advise your department, your bosses as to what's going on out there to see if we need to engage. And that takes up a lot of time, but it's something I enjoy and look forward to coming in the office every day. And then the administration side of it, where you visit with coaches, student athletes, fellow staff members to talk about what's going on in the athletic department.
You know, the vision that I have, because you've been doing this job so beautifully for so long, is kind of the image or the adage of a duck that's floating across the water. Above the water, everything is calm, cool, collected. That's the image that you give out. But we all know underneath the water, behind the scenes, all hell's breaking loose, and you don't want anybody to see that part. But at least in my mind, I know that there are times where you can plan and everything goes accordingly, but then there are other times where you've got to scramble and get things accomplished in such a timely manner that so many people are counting on you within, I don't know, within the football department or soccer or whatever other sport that you're having to deal with at that time. Is that a fair assessment, or did I kind of create that?
Well, it's a fair assessment, very fair assessment. I'd say this, and I had this motto when I was at the SEC as well, and that is the success of an event, the success of a venture is in direct proportion to the preparation that goes into it. And so we spend a lot of time preparing, talking, strategizing, whether it's a game, whether it's a initiative, whether it's dealing with an issue. The planning and the way that you plan is important, very important.
Well, I want to mention we've got a couple other folks who've joined us. We've got Steve in Atlanta. We've got Ashley down in the Dothan area. Thank you guys for joining us this morning. Charles, prior to joining the University of South Carolina, you spent many years in Birmingham at the Southeastern Conference office, working directly with two of who I think to be some of the best conference leaders, not only have we had, but probably in the country in the history of the NCAA. Share with us a little bit of your time with Roy Kramer, who I knew when I was at Vanderbilt, and then with Commissioner Slive, and then I forgot, I shouldn't have forgotten current Commissioner Sankey. Share with us a little bit about those experiences. I bet they were fun and interesting.
They're very interesting and very educational. I owe a credit of where I am today to those three gentlemen and all my former bosses and coworkers in the past. Commissioner Kramer, I learned so much from. He gave me some of my biggest breaks, especially working with the Bowl Championship Series early on, and got on the ground floor there. And it was nose to the grindstone. Let's get it done. He worked harder than I did. He was very intricately involved in all the details, and he cared about you. He wanted to see things done right. It was a pleasure working for him. He added so much for me. Commissioner Slive, unbelievable mentor, personally as well as professionally. I thought the world of him. I learned so much from him. People tell me today that how much he was important to them, and definitely I concur. He and his family were so great to me. And then Greg Sankey, who is one of the most intelligent people that I've ever come across, very grounded, very well thought out. All three of those gentlemen, whenever there was an issue, they thought everything out so well and came up with reasoned answers and reasoned decisions. And that's how I've learned a lot about how I carry on professionally.
Well, I was going to say the lessons you learned from all three of those men, I bet you probably use, if not daily, weekly, monthly, in your job right now. But I want to kind of pivot a little bit, and let's talk about with the onset of social media, with the how we live in such a gotta have it now, in your face world. It must be a challenge for your department with all of the athletes. You must have approximately how many athletes in those 21 programs make up at the university right now?
We have about 500 student athletes, and most of them probably have an Instagram account, a Twitter account. Not many of them I've observed have Facebook, but
Facebook is for our generation now.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're not on Snap and Instagram and maybe Twitter or something else, I think that's more their speed. Do you have a social media czar, or how do how do you educate? How do you get the point across to those 500 plus athletes? You represent our school. You represent yourself. You represent your family. Don't be a knucklehead. Don't get on there and get caught doing something stupid. What kind
Bernard, I don't know if I lost you there, Bernard, but I believe you're asking about social media and our student athletes.
of
You still there?
I'm here. I don't know how
Okay,
much of my question got to you. Can you hear me okay?
I can. I think you were asking about social media education for our student athletes.
That's exactly what it was. Yes, sir.
And we do that. We bring in guest speakers. We have a social media czar per se in our athletic department. And it's there's one thing where you can get in front of them and you can talk to them, but it's got to be the education got to be consistent and constant. And so whenever they have a question, they come see you. We always tell them they have to be careful. Uh, they represent the brand. They represent themselves. They represent their family, and when you are going out looking for a job, you're going to get searched. Prospective employers are going to search your accounts. So you just have to be careful. And nowadays, perception is reality until you fight it off. And you just have to be careful of what you put out there.
Yeah, because anything you put out there, it stays out there forever. No matter if you try and take it down, somebody finds it. And when you've got 18 to 22-year-olds largely who got to get out whatever's on their mind, you can only do so much to educate them. So I know that that is probably a headache that maybe 15 years ago you never dreamed would be part of your daily responsibilities, having 500 kids that you got to deal with.
You're right, and unfortunately, there's a lot of cases out there from other schools and other
Yeah.
programs that help educate our people. So it's not hard to tell them the message, but it's probably hard for them to take the message in and relay publicly without damaging their brand, and that's the
Yeah.
challenge.
No, you're exactly right. Because every one of those athletes at one point or another can turn themselves immediately into a brand. Now, they may brush
Mhm.
up against whatever NCAA issues and rules and responsibilities, but I'm sure you guys address that. But I want to take us now to where Columbia, South Carolina is geographically situated, and you've got two other large Power Five schools that are within that. I'll call it a triangle. You got Clemson on one side, you got Georgia on the other. What are some of the challenges that South Carolina sports programs face when you're having to recruit against those other big schools?
Well, the way recruiting is now, it's regional, it's national. We will recruit against schools outside of our region as much as in the region. Uh, we do have momentum on our side in terms of the success of our programs in the last 10 years. We've put together quite a few winning seasons in a lot of our sports, and that helps sell more than anything else. The being in the SEC helps sell. But there's a lot of similarities in the programs, whether it's the SEC or the ACC. And so, really, what it boils down to is our people and our facilities. And we feel from our coaches, from Will Muschamp in football, Frank Martin, Don Staley, Mark Kingston, and then you combine those with our first class facilities. we're relatively new compared to other schools in the SEC. We've been in an SEC now for 27 years. So we're still, from a facility standpoint, working, catching up, and competing. But it's a challenge, and it's something that we look forward to every day.
Yeah, well, it doesn't hurt to have such a spectacular women's basketball program who I think may be leading the country in attendance at home. And then you've got the success of the baseball program in such a highly competitive conference and holding your own, not only holding your own, but winning national championships really doesn't hurt when the kids come in for their recruiting visits and see all of those banners and get to hear and maybe even meet former players or get reached out by players who are in the pros these days. But I know it's a challenge for any school, particularly with those that are competing in the SEC. But one of the things, Charles, that kind of what I think maybe helps South Carolina stand out, I'd love for you to talk about the J School and what the journalism school offers these days.
Well, I'm a big fan of the J School. I'm a grad myself, a 1985 Carolina grad in the J School, and we're doing a lot of work in the athletics, coordinating with them in terms of curriculum ideas. The athletics department funds a live video production class where we draw students from to help us with their SEC Network Plus productions. We have a formal relationship in getting students to work in our media relations, public relations office. They are purchasing a new piece of equipment, social media monitoring, which we'll try to tie into as well. We worked with them this past semester on sports announcing, where we use some students to announce some of our games online. So we're trying to formalize that relationship. We're like the Syracuse of the South in terms of sports broadcasting and sports production. If you are in the Southeast and want to get into sports broadcasting or any form of sports media, University of South Carolina is the place to go.
That's outstanding. Would you have ever imagined when you were coming up through the university in the J School that one day you could be calling live games, whether it was on the radio or TV back in the day, but now it's on the internet, being able to have guys who are just, I guess I would equate it, maybe these are some of the students who are in your same classes, you're now calling their games live. That must be an awesome experience for some of those kids.
Well, it's a different day, and if you're as old as I am, you remember when games on TV were rare, where it was it was one game a year you may have had on TV or two or three. Now it's expected that all your games are on some form of video platform. So we're ready to meet the challenge. Manpower obviously is an issue as well as you talk about equipment. But our relationship with the journalism school helps us in terms of erasing those manpower issues that we may have without students.
Sure. Well, it's, even Division II, Division III, NAIA, junior college, they all can stream now online. My daughter played Division II lacrosse, and I got to watch every game just sitting at my computer, sitting in my den. And with the school being in the SEC, with the power of the SEC network, I bet a very large percentage of all competitions in some way, in some fashion, if your child goes to the University of South Carolina, you could probably watch an entire season of that particular sport, not miss a beat.
It's an amazing technology, and just to think about where we were before and where we are now, and where will we be 10, 15 years from now? It's just an amazing transformation in the way that we follow our sports teams, and there's a thirst for it as well. I mean, people are watching what we produce, and that says a lot about the power of sports, the power of the university, and the ability to be able to watch all of our sports programs.
Well, that's putting the current White House situation aside. To me, reality TV, the last of it is sports, and nothing to me. just take the two championship NFL games from this past weekend. Very exciting outcomes. Referee issues aside, both of those games were won and lost in the last few minutes. And I think that's what compels people to want to not just watch their own children or their own university, who they either are an actual alum or a sidewalk alum. Sports is just compelling. And if you've got two teams that are fairly similar and fairly capable, like most of the teams in the SEC, people are going to watch. And I think that University of South Carolina brand, what is this, about the 27th or 28th year now in the conference? I bet a lot of people don't remember that they used to belong to another conference back in the day.
Well, when I was in school here, we were an independent in football and in the Metro Conference and other sports. But Bernard, in terms of as an administrator and as someone who has been in the business as long as I have, it's up to us, to make sure that we keep the college sports model available, and also to keep it to where you want to keep the participation rates high, you want to keep the interest levels high, and you want to keep the educational aspect of it to where people say, hey, these are college students playing a sport for the love of the game or for the ability to make their professional careers better going forward. So there's challenges ahead, but we feel we're in a good spot, and the interest, as long as the interest levels are high and we keep our philosophy in line, I think we'll be in good shape.
Well, Charles, we're getting close to the end of our discussion, and I appreciate your time today. And for those of you watching either now live or later on, if you have questions for Charles or about the South Carolina Athletics Department or the J School, I'm sure he'll field those. You just put them in the comment section, and we'll get those to him. Charles, the impression that I've always gotten from you is you're somebody who thoroughly enjoys what he does for a profession. It's not a job, because when I think of a job, it's somebody who doesn't like what they do. They're just cashing a paycheck and putting in the time. You always have a smile on your face. You always do your job in such an exceptional level. And here's my question is, what is it that brings you to work each day, that keeps that fire, that energy going? What is it that you thoroughly just so enjoy about doing what you do?
Well, it's like I said before, it's the intercollegiate athletics model. It's coming to work knowing that you're making a contribution, helping young people, whether it's athletically or in the greater good of their lives. I mean, you are taking in college students ages 18 to 22 on average, and they're coming here with a opportunity to compete in intercollegiate athletics, and there's lessons to be learned by competition, and they're given a chance to whether it's a full scholarship or a partial or even a walk-on, the ability to go to college. And that is an opportunity that a lot of people don't have. So I feel that as long as I work in college athletics, it will be a mission to marry the academic and the athletic side to create a better opportunities for our student athletes.
Charles, fantastic. I was hoping that's what you were going to tell me, and I just had a feeling that's what I was going to hear. Thank you for your time today. I truly appreciate you giving us about 30 minutes of your time, and sorry for the network connection difficulties, but that's all part of being live on Facebook with the internet. Good luck in tonight's game. You got a big game tonight. Tell us a little bit about who's tipping off tonight, what time, and where.
Yeah, we got our men's basketball team is playing Auburn tonight at the Colonial Life Arena. It's a 6:30 tip on the SEC network. Auburn's very good. Watched them this past weekend. They're going to be tough to beat. We've had a tough schedule. We've played competitively. We had a good start to the conference season. We did lose our last conference game on Saturday to LSU. So this will be a big game for us, and hope we have a big crowd.
Well, if you play anything like you did down the stretch against my Commodores, you guys will give Auburn a tough game and could come out could come out on top. But Charles, I really appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bernard.
Guys, that'll conclude our discussion for today with Charles Bloom of the University of South Carolina. And if you got any questions or comments you want to shoot to him, just throw it in the comment section below our discussion here in the video, and we'll make sure that he gets them. Y'all have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week, and we'll catch you next week on NOMBERG Law Live every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Take care.